Okay, we're going to do this next section all at once. I can't really, there's slightly different variations in the time frame, but I can't really, there's no clear delineation that I can see. But we're going to start here. This whole section that goes around this little circle area here is called Florida Becomes American. So we're going to start with the mission portion of it. It's also called Forever Change, so I'm not sure where it begins and ends. It's not as clear, at least not to me, as some of the other sections have been. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're going to see information on all the highlights. This part of the quote-unquote Forever Change section talks about fortifications, Fort Caroline, and these are mostly going to be these plaques. I don't know the correct term for them, but these little informational plaques. The wooden forts at St. Augustine, and of course, as we saw before, we have English and whatever other languages here, so we're only going to focus obviously on the English. Castillo de San Marcos, which was built pretty much on the site of the current one, pretty much on the site of the wooden ones that were burned. This is a statue
Francisco Menendez, West Africa,
and we got to see some of his the Fort Mosaic where he
English colony of South Carolina.
was the leader.
Menendez and other enslaved Africans joined the Yamasee War in 1715, but were defeated and fled with the Yamasee Indians to Spanish Florida. In 1738, Menendez and other blacks received permission from Spanish authorities to establish a village called Fort Mosaic, 2 miles north of St. Augustine. By converting to Catholicism and pledging loyalty to the Spanish crown, they were granted their freedom. An invading English force in 1740 caused them to flee for protection to St. Augustine. In a daring counterattack, the Spanish force, including Menendez and some of his militia, recaptured Fort Mosaic, which was, however, destroyed on the battle. Menendez wrote 2 letters to the King of Spain, requesting reward for his service, and the Spanish governor supported those requests. Menendez later had a series of adventures as a privateer raiding the ships, including capturing.
He talks about all the fortifications throughout the state, Spanish and French. And we've been to Castillo de San Marcos, and this is what this is supposed to be a replica of. Atención!
Martin Martinez Gallegos served as part of an artillery crew at the fort in St. Augustine. He was called Martin el Artillero. Gallegos was born in Spain and therefore was known as a peninsular. He was married twice. His first wife, Victoria Escalona, was Spanish, but born in Florida, so she was called a Floridiana. Martin's second wife, Isabel Serrano, was of German Catholic origin and had moved to Florida from the English colonies in the 1750s. The reconstructed Gallegos house is an example of a typical.
This is the mission and settlement section. So I guess there is pretty clear delineation. I just hadn't really taken the time to really see what it was. It talks about the trade with the French. And this is, of course, I'm assuming, mission in San Luis, which we've been to and we're going to go to, maybe not today, hopefully tomorrow. I'm not sure we're going to have time, unfortunately, with the time limitations of some of these sites. Can't see them all. I mean, there's just no way. We're already at 2 o'clock. They close at 4. I'm not even done here yet. It's probably going to be a half an hour to get there. So probably not going to get to see that today, but I got other places on the list that don't have a stringent time restraints. Of course, everything is a time restraint because it gets dark. You can't really see too much after dark. Okay, so this section was the missions and settlement section. Going over it fairly quickly because everything is most everything is part of on these plaques. All the information is on these plaques. So fascinating area for sure. They're calling this section the shifting economy. Here we have a cool little desk. Mahogany drop front desk, 1760. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Woodwork lasts that long. That's incredible. That's an old British governor, Johnstone, 1770. These must be creeks. After the initial 100 or so years of Spanish occupation, the diseases that they brought with them almost entirely wiped out the population of Florida, of the not Paleo Indians, but the ancestors of the Paleo Indians, the Indians who were here right before the Spanish exploration began. Florida Indians, the Calusa, Timucua, Guale, Miami, Appalachia, so on and so forth. Those are all legitimate Floridian Indians, descendants of the ancient Paleo Indians that came here. However, once those Indians were wiped out by the diseases, almost to a man, I mean, they estimate 90 to 95%. Of course, that opened it up for what we now know as the Seminoles, which at that time there was no Seminoles. I forget what Seminole means. It means like lost or an amalgamation or something like that. It's not. It was Creek Indians and runaway slaves. The Creeks, of course, they had free reign, and they came down here in the mid 18th century and established themselves as what we now know as the Seminole. And they've been able to do quite well for themselves with the casinos and various housing and stipends. This is the part that says Florida Becomes American. So this whole area was pretty clearly delineated. I didn't catch it. This is pretty cool. They're playing and replaying, looping a reenactment video of the Dade battle, which is pretty neat. Because that part there, you don't really get to see that in the actual battle. They don't of the reenactment. Usually, that's pretty cool. I've been to several of those. It's a neat experience. There's this Rebecca Downing, Virginia native Rebecca Downing. Here we have an actual officer's winter coat. It was astonishing to me how small these people were. It's amazing. 1832 to 1840, worn during the Second Seminole War. Various Indian chiefs and Seminole warrior leaders' clothing, 1830 style reproduction. So that's not, but it would have been all very light cotton, very colorful as well. This is a engraving of Osceola. This is really cool. This is behind glass. It's original. This is completely incredibly legit here. It's the first state seal portraying a map. Was in use from 1846 to 1868 when it was replaced with a version of the current seal. So this was done in 1846 or before and used in the Capitol. Was one of 31 this painted on glass commissioned in 57. Okay, so this was done in 1857. It was one of 31 state seals forming part of the skylights in the chambers of the U.S. House of Representatives chamber. Was remodeled in 1951. The seal was removed and given to the state of Florida. So this was done in 1857, and sat in for nearly 100 years in the Capitol building. It's pretty cool. And they didn't take it out when the 11 states left the Union. I guess they knew they were going to force them back into it. Oh, and this is Governor Mosley. Painting of Governor Mosley. There's coins used for payment. These are obviously weapons. This is really, really cool to me. This is a diorama of the building of Fort Foster, which is really kind of near and dear to my heart because it's nearby to where I live, not too far, and it is pretty amazing place. The wood in the fort is not original, but the archaeologists who did all the excavations say that it's within, half a degree or something of where the original fort is. So when you go to Fort Foster, whenever you're able to get in there and view it, you're seeing the exact dimensions of the fort as it was, in whatever it was when they built it, 1840s. I've been there alone, and I've been there when they've been having not reenactments, but reenactments. They do a reenactment. 1836 was the date of this building, and this fort actually saw action, and that's an exact dioramic reproduction. I've been there. It's very, very, very cool. 301 runs right out that way now. But this was the Hillsborough, and ran right across it, ran over it. The bridge went right over it. Very, very neat stuff. Very cool how the dioramist has done it. I don't know what that building over there is supposed to be. Maybe, I don't know. It's not part of what's there now, but exciting stuff. We're gonna move on.